The Milwaukee Bucks have been extremely disappointing this season. Welcome to Influential Sports, and I'm here to talk about it and how disappointed the Bucks have been this season. They're 4-8 right now. They're 12th in the Eastern Conference. They've won their last two games, but even in these last two, they haven't looked really impressive. And the four wins that they have on the season, their first one came against a shorthanded Philadelphia 76ers team, and they ended up getting the win. Dame and Giannis, they both had great games. Then they lost 6 games in a row following that. They lost to Chicago, the Brooklyn Nets, the Celtics, the Grizzlies, and Cleveland back-to-back games after Mitchell and Garland hit game-winning shots. Then they got back on track with a win against the Jazz, who the Jazz are the worst team in basketball right now, record-wise. And then they lost back-to-back games to the Knicks and Celtics. The Celtics game was actually close because Giannis dropped 43 points and 13 rebounds. Then they were able to beat the Raptors, who don't have Scotty Barnes right now, by 14. And last night they played the Pistons, and it took Giannis to drop 59 points and 14 rebounds and overtime to beat the Pistons, who could have won the game pretty easily. So yeah, when you look at that, the Bucks, these games they haven't looked really impressive. And Chris Middleton, he has been out, but that's been their only major injury this season. Chris Middleton, I don't know when he's gonna come back. Just unfortunate injuries that he's dealing with. Just hope that he can come back as soon as possible. But him being out alone isn't an excuse for why they've been so bad this season. In their game against the Pistons, Damian Lillard, he's out. He's in concussion protocol. So prayers up to him. Hope he gets well soon. Went to overtime. If Ron Holland makes one free throw, that game is over. He missed two in the final seconds of the game, which ended up sending it to overtime. And Giannis, he was amazing. Giannis has been amazing this season. If the Bucks had an 8-4 record instead of 4-8, Giannis would be in the MVP conversation right now, because that's how great he's played. Now Damian Lillard, he's had a few good games and he's had a few bad ones. Like he's had multiple 30-point games, he even had a 40-piece. But he's also had games where he's shooting like 2 of 15, just shooting terrible from the field and terrible from three. Brook Lopez didn't do anything until the Pistons game. He finally stepped it up in that Pistons game. He had 28 points, I think, about 5 blocks. He had 2 blocks on Cade, if I'm not mistaken, in that game. But yeah, this team, they're 4-8. They're 12th in the East right now. Then when you look at the other teams that are above them, they shouldn't be that low in the standings, especially in a weak Eastern Conference. The defense is still bad. You don't have it's not many great defenders over there. In the offseason, they got Gary Trent and Taurean Prince, and they haven't done much. At the end of regulation against the Pistons, Taurean Prince ended up shooting the final shot. He was wide open for 3. But if Giannis is going off, he needs to take that shot regardless. Just take it to the paint, and you probably don't even end up in overtime. But they rank, and this is one of the Giannis and Dame, two of the best offensive players in the league. They rank 19th in points per game. And last season, they were one of the top offenses in the league. And then when you look at the teams that's above them, there's some of these teams, they just shouldn't be ahead of the Bucks, even at this point in the season. The Charlotte Hornets, 4-7, half a game difference, but they shouldn't be worse than the Hornets right now. The Pistons, who have been playing better recently, they shouldn't be better than the Bucks. Miami Heat, they're 4-6. Now you can argue the Heat could be better too with the talent that they have, but many people expected the Bucks to be better. The Brooklyn Nets at 5-7, Atlanta Hawks at 5-7, the Bulls at 5-7. The Bucks on paper are better than all these teams. It's no way these teams should have better records than the Bucks right now, and it's only a 1-game difference. But even throughout almost this first month of the season, the Bucks don't look good against some. Like they lost games to the Bulls, they lost to the Nets, they done lost to undefeated Cleveland twice already. Even lost to Boston and New York, and there's some people that still think this team at full strength can compete for a championship. But if you're losing to some of the teams we expect to be up there competing for a championship, like the Celtics, like the Knicks, and you can't compete with them, then even though the Cavs won 13 in a row, have won 13 games in a row, there's still people that don't think they're going that deep in the playoffs. And if that's the case, then that's a both of those losses look bad for Milwaukee, especially being down to the wire games, which they both could have won. Then the other teams, just the Pacers, Knicks, Magic, Celtics, and Cavs, those are all teams that were expected to be up there along with the 76ers and Bucks. The 76ers had an excuse for they're dealing with injuries, but they could still be better. 2-9, that doesn't look good either. But starting off this slow just puts the team in a really tough spot to start the season. They can definitely recover from this, but they've already lost some of these head-to-head matchups and don't know how long concussion protocol is in the NBA. They don't know how long Damian Lillard will be out. Don't know when Chris Middleton is coming back. I don't think Brook Lopez play is sustainable. He was great last night against Detroit, but I don't know how long that's going to last. Giannis has been doing his thing, but I just hope he doesn't get wore out trying to carry this Bucks team. Because without him, they can't do nothing. It took them dropping nearly 60 and 15 for them to beat the Pistons, who are one of the worst fourth quarter teams in the league. Like, when it gets to the fourth quarter, the Pistons just disappear. So for the Bucks to have to battle them down to the wire, especially on, well, I think both teams might have been on back-to-backs. But yeah, both teams were on back-to-backs, but and the Bucks will look bad this season, and in their wins, they haven't looked really impressive because they aren't playing great teams. Their most impressive win was the one against Utah when Dame and Giannis went off as a dynamic duo, and they haven't been terrible as a duo. They haven't even been bad. It's just what's surrounding them. You got Gary Trent, Taurean Prince, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, who I didn't even mention, but he could be playing better. That's one of the top 6 men in the league. He's had a few games here and there, but he needs to step up. That whole Bucks team needs to step up. And the coaching staff being coached by Doc Rivers or Darvin Ham on the bench, that's not doing much. Then they're 12th in the East right now, so they still have a chance at 4-8. But at 4-8, they'd be at 13. They'd be at 14 in the Western Conference. So they're just lucky they're in the East. That's actually crazy how much better the West is than the East, and I talk about that on my podcast. And correction, the Jazz aren't the worst team because they're 2-8. Actually, the Raptors who are 2-10, but Scotty's missed a few games. Didn't think the Raptors would be great anyways, but they'll definitely be solid once Scotty comes back. But that's it for this video about the Milwaukee Bucks. They've won 2 in a row, but it's not looking good. Haven't looked impressive. Been very disappointing to start the season. But that's it for this video. Leave a like, comment your thoughts and opinions about how the Bucks have played this season. And that's it. Peace.